Okay. Can I request all of you to put your mic on mute? Thank you so much. Okay, so here we are, Alchemist Book Club, the second meeting of this month, January 22. Book reading is a private experience, and there's one thing that can enhance that experience, and all of us enjoy going through the books of various genres, but if there is something that can enhance really that experience, what could that be? And that we think are questions. There are so many wonderful books, but we are alone with the book. And what if we get together to discuss about these books so that we will get to know about various viewpoints of this book, which makes it even more, our understanding, our comprehension deeper, so that we can enjoy the books better, get to know about other books from others, what they are reading, so that we will be able to keep moving through this life, right? So that's why Alchemist Book Club is formed, in order to bring like-minded people who are book lovers, who can come over, who are deep inside books, like read books, but also willing to discuss about the books. We enjoy discussing books and everything around it. Yes. Alchemist Book Club started in the year 2018, April, and we have conducted so far 47 meetings. We used to have once per month format meeting. Now from this year, we have shifted to 2 meetings per year. We have conducted 52 plus meetings and we have 90 plus members in the club. We meet on the second and the last Saturdays of every month. Each time we are taking different books of different genres, facilitated by our members, and some important sessions like today, where the author themselves will come and address and inspire us to read more books, especially those books. These are some of the books that we have covered during this book club meetings of Alchemist Book Club. So there are only few prerequisites of being a member. You should love reading, and you're willing to suggest, recommend books in the group. We have a WhatsApp group in which you will become active and you will be able to suggest and recommend books. Share your insights from what you're reading so that others will get knowledge about what you're reading and then willing to pick up that book and read. I can quote many instances from the book club group where I picked up beautiful books which I would have never come across had it not been shared by the other members of the group. So you can quote from the books what you're reading. At least participate in 10 to 12 meetings a year out of approximately 24 meetings that we conduct. So at the end of this meeting or during this meeting in the chat, I'll be posting a link so that if you are a new member, if you are a new person who's joined for this meeting for the first time, you can express interest to join our group, and then we will let you into the WhatsApp group and we'll keep posted of the other meeting that is going to happen through the club. So this is a short intro about the Alchemist Book Club, and today we have a very, very important session, very special session, what I could say. Alchemist Book Club warmly welcome Ms. Sathya Saran, and I would like to hand over now to Kamini, Ms. Kamini, to take over and facilitate and introduce and take us through the journey of book reading and book writing. Over to you, Kamini.
Yeah. Hello. 1 minute, I'll just switch over. The camera is not switching. Okay.
You're going off again.
Yeah, you can see now?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks TG for the introduction, and I've been a member only past few months and thoroughly enjoying being a part of the Alchemist.
She sent me a link.
Yes. Welcome Sathya, and I'm very happy to introduce Sathya to the book club members and other invitees. Sathya, you can get a lot of information on her from the internet, and of course the jackets of her book will have a lot to tell about her. But I'm going to tell something very striking, which I have observed over the many years that we have been very close friends, is that Sathya is like a volcano of energy, okay? But at the same time, she's as cool as cucumber. So this combination of so much energy, but a person who's completely all the time very collected, relaxed, and calm, So you can never figure out the amount of work she packs in a day. And it is this, unique personality of hers that she has been able to achieve so much and doing so many diverse things, which is mind-boggling. So she was bringing out this Femina magazine during the years when it saw a lot of change. It changed completely in content, in the look. It became more glamorous, and it was at that time that India gave to the world so many Miss Universe, Miss World, and all this was hosted by Femina when she was the editor. And with all this going on, she was even doing screenplay for a TV serial, Kashmakash, and herself acted in a play by Veena Pani, which even traveled to many places. And she also teaches in NIFT, Bombay and Kangra, that is Jammu and Kashmir. So now, of course, it's video. Otherwise, she travels all the way to Jammu. She does a lot of travel articles, and she's on the consulting editor of Penguin Random House. So yes, so all this she manages to do, and because of the phenomenal energy and the completely cool and collected personality that she is. So today we are very thankful to Sathya and very happy that you accepted this to share with us your experiences of writing 2 biographies of 2 legendary musicians, SD Burman and Hariprasad Chaurasia. And so to begin with, Sathya, I think you have written about 9 books so far, and on diverse subjects. Some of them, majority of them are on musicians and singers, but there's also something like Tea for You, and lately the last one was on Ritu Nanda, and what's in the pipeline is an autobiography or biography of
It's an autobiography. Yes.
Okay, of Adnan Sami. So, you can look forward to yet another book from her. And so, Satya, while I was reading your books, one thing which struck me was that there is so much to imbibe and learn from the lives of these 2 great legendary musicians. So, will you share, what you feel people can take away from their lives through these books, so that they can, get inspired and motivated and imbibe something from their lives?
Well, let me, before I begin, thank you, thank the club, thank you for making this happen. I mean, for me, it's very important because I want my books to be read. I want these lives to become public. I mean, they are inspiring lives, they're amazing lives, they are people of great talent and very likely to be forgotten in today's world, which is why I'm so happy to be here. And I hope we have a wonderful session, Kamini. We have known each other 50 years now, I think. So let's hope it's a great, great session. Well, as you asked me, that's a very valid question. I made some points because sometimes I do forget things. Inspiration and learning, you said. One, I think, was that they never gave up. I mean, we are only talking today of SD Burman and Hariji. But even if it is Jagjit Singh or Guru Dutt or anybody, they never ever gave up. With Hariprasad, it was that he was born into a family that had no music. His father was a wrestler. He wanted him to be a wrestler. And this boy found that he wanted to play, wanted music in his life. So he learned secretly, practiced secretly, went into the fields, went in by the riverside, went wherever he could so that he could play his flute. He had an inborn genius to play the instrument. and he made the most of it. And then he learned. Similarly, with SD Burman, when he found that his father was not supporting him, his mother, his family, because he came from a royal family, and they did not like the fact that he was going into music, though his father was a classical singer himself, in spite of being from the royal family. His sisters sang, his brothers sang. But the fact is that when he wanted to be a singer, they said, no, this doesn't work. And then he married a commoner. So he just left everything. He said, I don't want anything to do with your family. I will pursue music. So I think it's their dedication. They never, ever gave it up. Beyond that, there is the fact that Hariji, for example, not only did he learn, did he become very, very successful in this film music. He was every flute you hear from the, I think, 60s to the 70s, every place you hear the flute in a song is by Hariji. I mean, I don't think he ever got credit for it, but it was him playing, and it's such an intrinsic part of the music that you don't even notice it. But he played. But he became so successful. His wife says there was so much money, there was everything, but he wanted to learn. And when his wife told him, how long are you going to do pa behind 2 minutes, 3 minutes, how long are you going to do this? Why don't you use your talent to learn classical music? He wooed Annapurna Devi, the reclusive wife of Ravi Shankarji, Pandit Ravi Shankar, for 3 years. He would go to her flat and he would stand there and he would try and get an audience with her. And finally, she took him as a student. It's a beautiful story. And those who are reading the book will enjoy that chapter, that whole section immensely, because she was a fiery woman. She was ungiving like her father. She could lose her temper if one rag went wrong or one tune went wrong, or she sensed there was something wrong in the attention. But he learned. So I think it is this capacity to never give up is very, very inspiring. And then using the knowledge to break barriers, to do new things was another thing they did. Both of them, they used new voices. They used new ways of promoting their talent. SD Burman discovered many voices, all of whom today are the greats, whether it is Kishore Kumar, whether it is Manna Dey, whether it is Hemant Kumar, or even Geeta Dutt. While Hariji made Sridevi sing, made Amitabh sing for cinema, serious songs. So I think they continuously pushed the horizon, tried to make things different. So I think these are inspiring things. They never took their talent or their success for granted.
Mm-hmm. Yes, truly. And yes, and what is interesting to read in the book is something phenomenon which Hariji sacrificed at the feet of Annapurna Devi to learn classical music, but I won't tell you what it is. You must read the book and find out. So, and yes, Sathya, and also the contrast of these two books is that you've written a biography of SD Burman,
Right.
he was no more. And as you mentioned in the book that you just had some brief, met him briefly sometimes. And Hariji on the other side, still alive, and you were kind of authorized by him and his family to write his biography. Now, both these, but when you read both these books, although they're completely different from each other, but for the reader, they bring both these people alive. They become part of your life, Now, how did you achieve this, and what are the different ways in which you could, connect to a person you've hardly met and who's no more, and another person you could meet, so many contemporaries, that was available to you. So how did you manage this?
I just need to say, Kamini, I never met SD Burman. By the time the book was, somebody asked me, requested me to do the book and said, I'll help you with notes and interviews, which I already have because they have a fan club. He was dead. Not only was he dead, RD was dead. His wife was not able to speak. She had lost her memory. She was suffering from Alzheimer's and living in an old people's home. So I had no family. No family. Besides that, I think my biggest challenge, biggest challenge was that there was already a book on him.
Okay.
So when there is already a book on him, how do you write something new about a man who's dead and gone, and there's nothing new that can happen? You know?
Okay.
So, which is why, I mean, you've read the book and you know that it's in a very unusual format. It's not like a biography. It's like a film script. It's got letters. I have to imagine I was SD Burman when I wrote the book, and I had to create scenarios about songs. I had to create. So I made it a very 360-degree experience of his work, of his genius, of his thinking process. And what helped me in that was I got a translation of his own autobiography, a very small one. It's about 60 pages, very brief, covers a very brief period. And that helped me get his voice. So I think that helped a lot, but it was not easy. It was not easy at all. It was also the fact that I had to talk to a lot of people, but in that I was helped, as I said, by a lot of material that came as printed interviews, which had appeared all over the place. Some recorded interviews, of course, they were in Hindi and they went all over the place. So I had to cull from that, but I got a lot of information from there. And I did use this book by this very, very well-written book by Mr. H.Q. Chowdhury, who is from Bangladesh. He gave me permission to use the book as a backgrounder, so I got information from there. So that's how I put that book together. And I think the inspiration for this book came from the fact when I read a book called Coming from Slaughter, written by the Sri Lankan author Michael Ojan, I can't pronounce his name, who wrote The English Patient. And it's about this trombone player. And it's a beautifully tiny book, very beautifully written. And he wrote the whole story from 3 pieces of information which he got from newspapers. I said, if he can do it, I can. So that's how this book came. With Hariji, it was different. I had access to him. I had known Hariji in the past. I had traveled with him to Oslo. I knew about his sense of humor. I knew about his talent. And but he's very hard to get. He's traveling all the time. So finally, I went to his Gurukul in Vrindavan and sat there. And I said, I'm not going till you give me time. And he gave me 3 days. He said, "Aur kuch nahi karunga, everything is shut for you. I will give you time." And I got those interviews. And then, of course, Anuradha ji was very helpful. His daughter-in-law was very helpful. Everybody was very helpful.
Okay. Yeah, that is very. And was your early years in Assam help you in connecting to the background of Burmanji? Because you describe it so well. His childhood, the years in Bangladesh, and all that.
That's because I grew up in those areas, so it was very simple for me to imagine what it must have been like.
Yes. Okay, now as a little more about writing, since we are book club members, then we'll go on to the music of the 2 people, is that you have written the biography of Jagjit Singh in just about 20 days. So now that's something really phenomenal. So will you share with us, like, how many hours did you work to get this 60,000-70,000 words done in about less than 20 days? And how did you manage it? What was that experience?
It didn't happen because I was challenging myself or anything. I was going on a trek. And I said, suppose I die on that trek. It was a rather dangerous trek and things did happen on that trek. But I said, suppose I don't come back from the trek. I don't want one unfinished book. I've committed to do this book. So before I went on the trek, I said, I must finish it. So I sat down and I gave myself a deadline of 3,000 words every day. So then it becomes simple when you give yourself a deadline and a kind of quantum of work to be done every day. So sometimes it would be at a stretch, sometimes it would be 100 words now, 1,000 words later, then oh hell, now I don't feel like writing. Chalo khana khane ke baad we'll sit down and try. Some days it would be less, some days it would be more, but I managed it. I managed it. Of course, later on we did revisions during the editing. There were things to be added, but the first draft was ready in 21 days. And I think the discipline I have learned as a journalist helped me, because you cannot wait for inspiration when you're a journalist, and you've been a journalist, you know. So
Yes.
you sit at the table, you open your laptop or your iPad or whatever it is, and you write. That's it. And usually will make it work, you know.
Yes, you're very right.
So that's how Jagjit happened. Yes.
Okay. And have you ever experienced a writer's block? Or, days when you couldn't write, or, has it happened to any of your books, like which has taken the longest time to write?
I think it's a very self-indulgent term which writers use, that I have writer's block, so I can't write. It sounds very important, oh, I'm a writer and I've got this block. No, I think blocks happen to everybody. I mean, it happens in everywhere, to everyone in all situations in life. And I think with SD Burman, I didn't have a writer's block. I had the problem of not being able to live in the universe that he held, because that's what that book is about, that I enter his universe and I live there. So the moment I felt it was becoming mechanical, or it was becoming automatic, I would give up and say, let the mood come back. Let me get back into that. So that took a very long time. I mean, Jagjit took 3 weeks. This took 9 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like literally delivering a baby. And it was the first time a biography was being written in this format. So I also had to keep asking my editor. I said, look, I'm doing this. Is it okay? And I would send him little snatches. But he was very, very helpful, and he was very, very supportive, and it worked. In fact, it was submitted for the national awards. But it's not in my, it's not, I don't win awards, so I didn't get any. So that's another thing. It's not in my destiny.
Okay.
But that's a kind of writer's block.
Yes. Somewhere I had read about this writer's block or anything like that. And the person said, a bird will sing just as sweet from any branch, any time, So what you said is true. It's more, sort of.
But if you do get stuck, the best thing to do is to, if it's not turning out the way you want to, sometimes it's tilted, sometimes it's forced. Go for a walk. I just go for a walk, or I go to sleep. And then it resolves itself.
Yeah, sleep is, both things are a good, good advice. So now coming to the two musicians, SD Burman, like one gets, to know through the book, is that he was phenomenal in experimenting and in innovation. Like, we experiment with so many different voices, and also not that, it may be just Devanand who's singing those songs, but in that one film, Devanand's voice will be sung by so many different singers, So that's like the confidence in and the insight of the man to imagine who will sound best with the same hero for that situation and all that, yes. But also the kind of mixing he did with his music. So like you've written that there's a song which is a mix of folk music, classical music, and a qawwali. So yes, TG, can we have just a few lines of that song so that our listeners know which song we are referring to?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
No, the first one that.
Not this one.
This one.
I'm playing it now.
Yes. So much. And there is yet another one.
This song,
Yeah.
Kamini, let me talk about what he did in this song, since we
Yes,
played it
please.
and it's fresh in the minds. So he was working with Neeraj in those days. And Neeraj was a poet. I mean, Neeraj came very reluctantly to write for cinema because, and he was also very worried. SD was also worried कि ये poet है, ये ऊंचा ऊंचा लिखेगा, how will I manage, you know? So but then they hit it off, especially in Prem Pujari. And this song, he told him, he did three things in Prem Pujari. He did one with only Mukada starting before the Antara, which is the very famous Phoolon Ke Rang Se song. And then he did this song in which the first line, I'm going to read this. He said, first two lines will be on folk, that is, Gam ko bhool dalo. Then the third line will be on classical, Are Kanton ki dagariya zindagani hai, right? And the fourth line is pop. Ye hot suke suke, ye baal ruke ruke. See how the whole thing is all blended in so beautifully that you don't realize that he is going from one, segment of music to another completely.
Yes. Yeah, that's really, and sometimes we don't even know, that we just know that we are thoroughly enjoying the song, but the book, you get to learn a lot of these little things, the elements that are used in making music for films. Yes. And similarly, he turned a ghazal into a pop song.
Yes.
Yes, or did a song which didn't have a bukla, like
that was that one. No, but the song happened very early in his career. And Sahir had written a ghazal, and it was supposed to be sung by Geeta Bali. And she's supposed to be, she falls in love with she's the villain's mall, of course, but she falls in love with the hero, as always happens. And she's trying to warn him that you are going to get killed. Don't walk into that nest of vipers. They're waiting there to trap you. It's a trap. So he said, how can I make it a soft singing ghazal? It won't work. She's a gangster's mall. She's not going to wear a sari and sing. She's going to be dressed in a short dress or in pants or a little bohemian top, and she's going to strum a guitar. How can I do this? So he turned it into the music into a modern kind of ditty. And Sahir was horrified. Sahir said, what the hell? What have you done with my ghazal? And they had a lot of problems. But at that point, finally, Gurudat stepped in and said, no, it's working wonderfully. It will be a hit song. And sure enough, it was a hit. You want to play the song?
Yeah, Takdeer Se, no? Takdeer Se, Takdeer. Yeah, teacher, can we have that song, please?
This is the one.
तकदीर से बिगड़ी हुई तकदीर बना ले अपने पे भरोसा है तो ये दाव लगा ले दाव लगा ले तकदीर से बिगड़ी हुई तकदीर बना ले अपने पे भरोसा है तो ये दाव लगा ले दाव लगा ले निगाहों से भला क्यों डरता
Yes.
So
That was
he
good.
added that hey, hey, hey and ho, ho, ho to it and made it and added the, little whatever she's playing. It's not a guitar, it's I think a banjo. And she's trying to make him not go into that place because they're waiting with a gun to shoot him. So she's trying to make him, attract him to her so that she can want him in some way. And he added the rhythm and he added the instruments that made it modern. But if you look at the structure of the poem, it is a ghazal. The rhyming pattern, the meter, everything is a ghazal. So you can sing it like a ghazal if you want. You give it to Jagjit Singh, he'll make it into a ghazal.
Yes, true. So while we are on it, it's also, I was very fascinated to read about behind the scenes, how music is composed. And I always thought that lyrics are first written and given to the music director and he then composes. And I was quite surprised to see that, no, it's the tune which is first set and then the song is fitted into the tune. Can you tell us something more about this, how it's all done by the producer, the director, and yeah.
No, traditionally, Kamini, the lyricist wrote this story. He wrote the poem. He wrote the song. Because
Okay.
the director would tell him, this is the scene, I want a song here. I want a happy song, I want a romantic song, I want a sad, song of longing. So he would write the words to create the mood.
Okay.
And the mood would be indicated by the words to the composer, who would then create a tune to do this.
Okay.
Right. This is how it was traditionally. But
okay.
After SD Burman during Pyasa had a fight with Sahir. Both were hot-tempered. Sahir was hot-tempered in a very brooding kind of way. He bore grudges. He would never go back if he had fought with somebody. SD was childlike. Are ja, nahi baat karunga. That kind of thing. And then he could forget. It was kiss and make up after that. So they fought because once at some point, when Sahir disagreed with him, SD told him, look, what you guys have to do, you just have to write. We have to create the music, we have to work with the singer, we have to work with the accompanists, we have to create all those interludes and arrange it. So much work and record it. So I want, he told the director, I don't remember who it was, I want 1 rupee more than the writer. At which point Sahir said, I'll never work with you again, and they never worked together. Though they did such amazing work in Pyasa, in Bazi, they did all these beautiful songs, but they never worked together. So then he also started telling all his people who worked with him, and he used to not do more than 4 movies in a year. He was very, very strict about it. So he told them that I will give you the music, you find poets who will fit their work inside it. So he set this trend of giving the music first. Of course, there are cases, even in Pyasa, that somebody liked a song very much and then said, Guru Dutt liked a song very much and said, I want to use this, that ye mehelon, ye takton, ye tazon ki duniya. That was already written and it was a part of Sahir's collection. That was set into music by SD. But mostly he said, I will not already work on something that has been already set. I will make the music, you tell your poet to fit his words in. It worked for a lot of poets because they felt the meter is ready for us, we don't have to struggle, we will just put it together.
Okay, so now it's become the accepted format.
I think both work, but this is more accepted because it's simpler.
Okay. Thanks. And little about Hariji, he also experimented a lot with his music and singers. And like you said, he got Sri Devi to sing and Amitabh Bachchan. So can you tell something about that also? About Hariji?
Yeah, Amitabh Bachchan, he decided should sing because he thought it will make the silsila very popular. It was their first, Shiv Kumar Sharma and Hariprasad, who are known as Shiv Hari, of course. It was their first venture into composing for cinema. And so they said, we have to do something to create a little bit of a noise, you know. And he said, if we get Amitabh to sing, it will be nothing short of a miracle. So the first song they got him to sing was the Rang Barse song. And they used a very clever thing. They said, we want a holy song and let him sing it in his own voice. And he went, and then they said, we want an original holy song. We don't want something that's already available, you know. No Kanhaiya, Alare or Govinda, Alare. We don't want that kind of thing. We want something to go with the scene. And because Yash Chopra was also a very visual, music-oriented person, everybody agreed. So they went to Harvansh Rai Bachchan and they said, you know, we want a holy song. And he said, Acha, so what do you want out of me? He said, we wanted to write it. And we have Amitabh, your son is in the recording room, he's going to sing it. So believe it or not, the poet wrote that song in record time. I think in 20 minutes, the song was ready.
Oh my God.
He was motivated by the fact that his son is going to sing it. So the Rang Barse song came like that, and it worked very well because it's got that rustic charm. It's very realistic. And of course, Amitabh being Amitabh makes it work, you know.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
the whole scene is magical. You feel all the emotions that you're supposed to feel. Let's listen to that song, Kamini. I think you have it with you.
Yeah.
It's too good.
Thanks so much, TG. Yeah, I think Silsila has one of the phenomenal songs and music. Yeah, really. So yes, and Hariji having that classical music background really brings it something into it.
Right, right. After this, he challenged. He kind of pushed Amitabh to sing the other song, Neela Asman, which is a much more difficult song. Yeah, you know, it's classical in its overtones. So he made him sing that. So I think these are big coups that he managed. The Sri Devi story is a bit different. Sri Devi said, if he can, I want to sing. And everybody was very happy because it will make the movie a hit. And because Sri Devi was doing so much work those days, they said, oh, very good. If she's going to sing, she'll be committed. She'll come for her dates here and finish this film fast. So they got her to sing. But the moment they took her into the studio and she started singing, they said, iski bas ki baat nahi. She realized that wanting to sing and wanting to sing in the studio are a different ball games altogether. So then they after the first recording, everybody went into a little bit of shock. And then finally they kind of made it easy, added some written, lines, whatnot, to kind of dilute the whole thing, and they still recorded it. Because she had gone and told her father, I'm going to sing. And he was very thrilled. So nobody wanted to disappoint her. But they kept that song. So they were brave.
Yes. And a little bit about these two people as human beings, in spite of the phenomenal pressure on them to create, now that is an area which is, I think that's the most demanding and challenging thing a human can do is create something, an art or music. So in spite of that, through the book you get a lot of insight into how human and how much fun they were capable of, and tomfoolery, and so just a few anecdotes about both, if you can share, for the listeners.
But I think there is one which has both of them in it, which I'm going to narrate. Those days when SD Burman was working on a particular film, I don't remember which one it was, Hariji was still working in All India Radio Bombay. So he was moonlighting practically for cinema. So he would go to work, and then when he had to go for a recording, he would quietly take leave and push off, So there is this scene where SD Burman is sitting with his harmonium on the floor and all his accompaniers there, and they are trying to record. They're trying to finalize a song. And in the middle of all this, Hariji comes in with his jhola and his flutes in the jhola late. He opens the door and he's very flustered and he comes and sits down. And he says, sorry, late ho gaya. Kaam pe tha, yeah, blah, blah, blah. You know. So, of course, he's come by train all the way from Churchgate to Santa Cruz. So then, So then he says, no problem. Sit down, let us start. Then suddenly SD Burman says, have you eaten? So Hariji says, no, I mean, lunchtime I've come. So somebody from the back is listening. His wife, SD Burman's wife is listening. And she slowly brings one whole bowl of rasagullas and places it in the room. Now these rasagullas come all the way from Calcutta only for SD Burman. None of his family also eat it. Okay? And here they are being offered. And he doesn't say anything, but you can see that you can sense that he has felt shock. Okay, my favorite rasagullas are being eaten up. So they place it there and he says, cow. Of course, none of the other accompanies will touch it because they are in front of SD. They are not hungry. They don't know how to make the first move. Hariji also says, no, theek hai. So the work starts. The others are, the violin is playing, something else is playing. He's trying out the drum. He's trying out a tune. Hariji is looking at the rasagullas. Now Hariji has 32 sweet teeth. All his teeth crave for sweets. So he looks at this rasagulla and then slowly picks up one and eats it. And it goes on. By the time the song is recorded, all the rasagullas have vanished. And SD Burman says nothing. Okay. Then when they are leaving, he tells two people. One of them is Hariji, Kal you come to me to that place. I'm recording Lataji and I want her to listen to what you are going to do, your interludes and the flute. So he goes, Hariji goes the next morning and Lataji is recording is over and he says, okay, you please let her listen to what you are going to put in the song so that she knows what to do. So Hariji plays the flute. And then he looks at Lataji and says, Lota, very sweet, no music. So Lata says, but Hariji is always sweet in his music. He says, no, 15 rosogollas, very sweet music today. So that kind of quiet humor. And I think there were times when he did very strange things. Like he had decided he will not do more than 4 movies a year, advised by his wife. And this was when he was doing Devdas. And once a producer was not giving up, he kept coming to him. And then again, when he was in the middle of composing, this producer, they came and said, producer aa gaya hai aur wo andar aa raha hai. He's just walking in, he's not going to stop. He said, wait 2 minutes. He went into the kitchen and from the kitchen window, he jumped out. Just to escape the producer. So he used to do anything to keep his music sacrosanct. He would not compromise. So I think there are many funny stories in the book, but I will admit myself to.
Yes, and we have come close to our question answer session. Now, only one thing, whether you'd like to do it now or at the end of the session, is read out your favorite parts from both the books.
I don't mind finishing it because then we don't have to worry about telling people to, stop asking questions. I'm going to read through tiny portions. So that's much, okay?
Yes.
Now, this is Hariji's book, Breath of Gold. I think some of you have seen this cover. And it's divided into little interludes where there are stories which don't go into the main flow of his life story. And this is one interlude of his first ever performance abroad. He's a very junior artist. He has gone with a big group and they're performing in London. Okay, and the year is 1966. So I'm reading an interlude, London, 1966. It is a strange world he finds himself in. For one, he is cold. His hands are cold, his fingers too, as is the tip of his nose. Worst of all, His flute is not warm and responsive to his touch, but feels cold. He lifts it to his lips, blows tentatively. The sound comforts him. It is almost as clear as always, except for the slightest hint of a hiss. Perhaps if he wraps the flute up in a woolen scarf, it will feel better. He looks around at the hall he is to perform in. It's huge and impressive. He has already been awed by the building's facade, by the semicircular seating inside with tiers that rise above one over the other in a widening arc. It's like nothing he has seen before. He does not know if all the plush seats will be filled. There seem to be so many. He supposes it must be some thousands. The actual number is 5,267. His recital is part of an evening of dance and music. He has been asked to play for 12 minutes. When his turn comes, the audience welcomes him with applause, as is the custom in the West. It warms his heart. He has decided to play a simple raga, knowing that the time allotted is not enough for anything complex or long. He looks into the dim interiors of the space before him, settles down, signals to the tabla player accompanying him, and closing his eyes, he blows into his flute. When I play, I close my eyes because then I am playing only for God, is what he says. For the stretch of time that follows, he is aware of nothing except his music. He could well be singing by Draupadi Ghat in Allahabad. Tabla and flute play in tandem and together in perfect sync, and listening to the music, the audience is enthralled. It knows it is in the presence of a true master. When the recital ends, the clock shows it has lasted 20 minutes. But the audience does not mind. It calls for an encore. Flushed and happy, Hariprasad stands in the wings waiting for the applause to stop. Someone pushes him onto stage, telling him to take a bow. He stumbles out, then walking up to center stage, bends low in an. It is much, much later that he realizes the magnitude of his achievement. Not only has he performed at the Royal Albert Hall, London, coveted venue of every performing artist across the world, but the audience of British and Indian listeners boasted celebrity performers, including Yehudi Menuhin, the world-famous violinist. He celebrates by buying gifts for Anuradha, perfumes which in those days were not available as easily as they are now in India. So this is a very small description of Hariji's first ever performance.
Okay.
I will now try and read one little bit about the composition of a very, very well-loved song. I think all of you know it, from Milli, Badi Suni Suni Hai. Let me just find that. I'm sorry, I think I had kept it, but it seems to have vanished. Oh, do you want to take a question while I search for it?
I'll also get my book and find it.
It's right at the end. Here it is. I found it. This is also a very small segment. It's a very poignant one, but what a poem Yogesh had composed. He was more than, now I'm like living SD Burman, okay? What a poem Yogesh had composed. He was more than moved by the note of sadness in it, the searing quality of loneliness the words expressed. Badi Suni Suni Hai. The tune was heart-wrenching enough, but the words truly imbibed it with the soul. Wah, Yogesh, he said, you have excelled yourself. I tell you, this song will be the eternal plaint for the lonely soul. Sometimes he felt the same loneliness. He wondered why, but he knew the answer. He would never let it come to his mind and present itself. Enough then to let it spin itself out in a tune. Kishore will sing the song, he told himself, coming to a sudden decision. It was good also for Mukesh's voice with its border of sadness, but Kishore would be the right voice for it. He would sing it to him and see the reaction. It was his favorite ploy, his trick, to watch the reaction of the singer he had chosen as he put out the song for the first time, words and music, and let it play in the very voice that would record it. It helped him to the very voice that recorded. It helped them catch the nuances he wanted. And secretly, impishly, he knew he could bring to his tune much more than most of them could, though their voices were clearer, sharper, more acceptable to the listener when on screen. As expected, Kishore listened attentively. He was pleased. He was old now and got tired easily, and happy that the boy did not bounce around and play his pranks as he used to do earlier. He sat sedately and he listened. A bit too quiet, he thought. Does he not like the tune? He sang, he finished singing and waited. The boy would not look up. He sat with his head bent over his knees. Kishore, what happened? When Kishore looked up, he was surprised to see his eyes full of tears. He had made him cry. This laughing, joking child was crying to this tune of loneliness. What chord in his heart had the song touched? Kishore got up suddenly. I am going, he said. And before he could remonstrate, I am going, I will be back. When the song is ready, I will come back. Jab tak main ready nahi hoonga, ye gana record nahi hoga, he said. He could only stare in silence at the space Kishore had occupied. He had left as if in a hurry. He knew the singer would work on the song as was his habit. He would send a recording with Yogesh for him to work on.
Oh, very nice. Really lovely. Yeah. So I can see that, a lot of questions people are waiting to, for you to answer.
I love it.
Yes, and Ekta, a very active member of Alchemist Book Club, she will, take on the question answer session.
Thank you, Kamini. Sathya, I'm really, I don't know if I should start with this, but I'm going to take that advantage that I've started my career thanks to you.
Oh.
I have to tell you this. This is something I wanted to share. Is because I think about in 2003 or 2004, you had a Femina event down south in Chennai.
Yes.
You remember that event?
The
With Dia Mirza and all of them. It was this kind of a grooming session and everything. That was my first interaction with you. And that was when I realized that grooming and etiquette and, the whole idea of presenting yourself and your brand matters so much. And I vividly remember, one, because of your lovely hair, which we all talk about, and also because the way the whole session went. And from there on, I took into this journey of image management and etiquette and everything.
Wow.
So thank you so much. And today when I see you with these books, I have to say, I was looking forward to the session. All of us were looking forward to the session, but you made me want to pick up the books right away and read them.
Lovely. That was my idea.
Yeah, because these people, honestly, I'm sure I'll be speaking for everyone here, is that, we look at these two as larger than life personalities, people who've achieved beyond, this goals we set kind in life. And you made it sound so simple. You made them feel like they were humans and they've gone through their journey. And it sounded so nice and relatable that I'm really looking forward to reading it. And Kamini, thank you so much, both of you. This whole conversation was really fun with all the songs and everything in between. We do have a few questions, and let me start. I'm going to start with mine, and then we'll move on to all the others who want to ask. So there's one question that I remember you were telling that, sometimes in books, it takes about 9 months to write a book. When you revisit, do you sometimes feel like maybe I didn't do justice, I want to write it better, or I want to say it in another way? Does it ever happen to you that you want to redo it? Does that happen?
It happens when I look at very early work, but normally no. Normally no.
Yeah. And also because I see that, so there's something about whole fear. Does that ever come into you? Because now you are the bridge between the mass. Every person who picks up the book and reads it, I wouldn't have known so much about SD or about Hariji, like how you've told us, whether it was the Rasgulla incident or whether about its temper or just the fun bit. So you are the bridge for all of us. You're bringing them into life for us in your words. So do you ever feel that kind of a fear that, am I doing justice? Am I telling them everything? Or, does that ever happen?
The reason I chose this format for both these books was because there's so much. Hariji's life is so full of incidents, so full of recitals, of stories, that you cannot put it all. It would become a tome of 5,000 pages. So one tries to distill what is important and keep the story moving, and yet give glimpses into his character, into his career, into his music. So it's a very delicate balance of presenting the man and his work, and yet not saying too much, just enough to create that world of it that he occupies.
Yes.
I think that's how it is done. I mean, that's how I do it.
Yes, thank you so much. There's an interesting question from Manish. Manish, would you like to ask? Please switch on your video and you could share it.
Hi, Sathya. Interesting to learn about SD more so because I'm a diehard fan of RD Burman. We have a group of our own called Pancham Pagals, where we refer to SD songs as Baap Ka Mal, because RD had used that term in one of his, discussions. So I am particularly interested in knowing more about the interaction the father and son duo had, and how SD influenced RD's music. I know RD was another genre altogether, but still there is an influence of the father on the son. So I am keen to learn more about that.
Right. If you look at some of SD's songs, you would imagine it cannot be somebody who looked like a monk, because he was often taken for a monk. He had this very clean, sanctified look about him, the way he dressed, the way he presented himself. So you wouldn't imagine that he would do, I mean, if you look at Chhod De Aanchal, or if you look at the Paying Guest songs, or even the Chalti Ka Naam Gaadi songs, where there's all madness happening, in the instruments and everything. So I think that was a huge influence on RD. He realized that you can use anything to make music. You can create any kind of music as long as it has rhythm and it has melody. So that was I think the basic underlying thing RD took away. But there were also actual instances, two of which are in this book, where RD was influenced directly by advice that his father gave him when he was doing when he was doing Amar Prem, which is one of his biggest hits, one of my favorites. When he was doing that Bada Nat Khat Hai, he had finished composing the song, and SD happened to visit the studio at that time, and he played it to him. He said, "Baba, dekho, maine kar diya hai." And he listened to it and he says, "No, this is sounding like a bhajan. It's not a bhajan. It is a motherless boy. It's Yashodra's yearning for her son who's not her son." So you have to bring mamta into it. You have to bring that, a little bit of the motherly love and the yearning into the song, into the bhajan, to make it work on screen. And that is what he did. He showed him how to do it, and that song worked. So there are instances like this where there was a lot of also heartbreak in, I mean, when he talks about what was the chord in his own life that song, Badi Suni Suni, had touched. It was this, that his son walked away from him. He did not stay and continue to do his brand of music along with his father. He just walked out, So I think there was a great loneliness in his heart.
Yeah. Look forward to reading the book. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manish. So there's another question that comes from Mr. Parth. Parth, could you ask your question, please?
Yeah, hi, good evening. Thank you for an excellent session, Satya ji and Kamini ji. I think it was really enjoyable. And as Ekta rightly said, it really wants you to go out and pick the book right away. I have two questions, I think one of which already is partly been asked by Manish, in terms of how did you see the relationship between SD and RD as he flourished, and at some point in time did he look at RD with pride in terms of what he did? The second question is a more general one, that of the people that you selected to write about, why is it that these are the people that you selected? Are these your personal favorites, or is there something common thread running through them?
Good, lovely questions. Thank you. You know, talking of RD and SD, there was one day when SD came back from, he used to go on a walk along Juhu Beach every morning. And one day he came back very excited, very excited. And his wife asked him, what happened? Why are you jumping around like a baby? Because he had this habit of jumping when he was excited. He said, you know, today what happened? Today they didn't say SD Burman ja raha, they said RD ka father ja raha. You know, so he said, my son has arrived. So he was very proud of him. He knew the boy was talented right from the beginning. He's done a lot of arranging for his songs also. And in fact, the song from Fantush, O Meri Topi Palat Ke Aa, was a composition by RD, which SD used. And RD said, but that is my song, give me credit. He says, no, the fact I have used your song is your credit. I'm not your credit, because he was in his teens at that time. He said, this is going to be your motivation to get your own name. But I'm not giving it to you so early that you will get complacent and sit back on your laurels. And your second question was, sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, that the people you've chosen to write about, is there something common, or what drove you to write about them?
Well, I have been always fascinated by Hindi cinema songs, especially the 60s, even before that. I have grown up listening to them, humming them, singing them. In fact, my father used to say, because whenever we sat in a car, my sister would be at one window, I would be at one window, and we'd be singing these songs. And he'd say, Mera to stereo recording hai idhar. I don't need a radio in my car, I have a stereo in my car. So I've grown up with this. So when I first started, my first book was Guru Dutt, 10 years with Guru Dutt. When I started writing that, and I realized that there is so much that one doesn't know. Nobody knows, and nobody is chronicling these stories. And when I wrote that book, somebody read the book and came to me and offered me, if you write on SD Burman, we have all the material. We have a fan club. We have 3 files he gave me of cuttings over the years of 20 years or 25 years or 30 years. So that was it. And then after that, I did Jagjit, because by then publishers have realized that I like to write on music, and I do my research very, very sincerely. So they gave me Jagjit. And Hariji happened by accident. And I was hoping to find a writer who knew Hindustani music well. And he said, no, I don't want a treatise on Hindustani music. I want my life. I want me. I mean, more than him saying it, it was his family which said, we don't want Papa to be made into one bigger, larger than life person. He's such a colorful personality, and he has had such a varied life. We wanted to present that, his life, rather than what his music is made of. So there are chapters in the book which talks about what made his music unique, what makes him the best loved flautist in the world today, what made him become the world music head for Rotterdam University, where he teaches Hindustani music for the last 28 years. I mean, he hasn't gone the last 2 years, but 28 years he went every year. So that is there, but it's more about the man. So music is a theme. I like doing music. I'm supposed to do Hemant Kumar. I'm not getting any breakthroughs. So that's a big problem when you write about dead people.
If I might just add one more question, with SD Burman, did he ultimately end up having? I mean, I guess it's normal to have his favorites amongst the playback singers. My understanding is that his fallback used to be Kishore and Lata.
Lata was his absolute favorite. Asha was also very close to him, and he would. There is a story here where where she says when he was explaining a song, he got up and danced the song to tell her this is the mood I want in the song, you know. And then Rafi was close to him, but Kishore was very close to him because he found that childlike quality in Kishore, that mad streak that Kishore had, very, very endearing, very enduring. And I think there was also the bong connection. Manna Day was very special to him also because they learned together. They were students together from the same KCD, Manna Day's uncle, the blind singer. So I think he had his favorites, but he did not care. He would check which voice will suit the song. Doesn't matter. In Devdas, he has used 9 different voices for 2 people. From, you know, from Geeta Dutt to Mubarak Begum. From Talat to Rafi, he has used for Dilip Kumar.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Savita also has a question. Savita, would you like to ask?
Hi, Satya. It's nice
Hi.
to see you again. I don't know if
I
you
know,
remember
after
me.
so many years.
Yes, every time I used to walk into Times of India office and come to Femina, I used to see you studiously writing and at your desk. And what I loved is seeing your long plat. And I used to wonder how you maintain that. It was so beautiful. And you've come such a long way. And it has been so wonderful to attend this session and listen to you talk. And one of my questions was, since you are interviewing very, senior personalities and people who made such a name for themselves, for your first interviews, did your hands turn cold? Did you break out in sweat? Did your heart beat faster? No?
When you've been a journalist and you've interviewed everybody, but everybody, it's okay.
That's wonderful. You know, when you're interviewing personalities like this, and they've been put on a pedestal and there are walls around them. But I think in your book, you have broken these walls. You have seen what a person is like with a normal person like us, with frailties and with feelings and little anecdotes which reveal all this. I think that is a great talent that you have for bringing out the humanist point of view.
Thank you.
I think you've done a wonderful job, and I must say congratulations to Kamini also for those very insightful questions. And it's so plain that you both have a bond.
Yeah.
So do some more talking to us. It will be wonderful.
Thank you, Sabita. Lovely seeing you again.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so Mr. Sampath too has a question, but before Mr. Sampath can ask, there's an interesting offer that Mr. Manish has said. He said, if you ever choose to write a book on RD, they will have, like they said, they have a group who are crazy about him. So they will have enough and more information that they would like to share with you.
No, but there is an award-winning book on him, which is so well researched. I don't think I want to go there again.
Honestly, ma'am, there is so much about him that people don't know. That as many books as you write about him will still be less.
Okay, I'll take you up when I come to. I'm coming to Chennai on the.
I'm from Bombay. I'm from.
Oh, then I'll catch you here.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Sampath, you could ask a question, please.
Yeah, we used to know this gentleman who died recently, about 7-8 years back, called Rishi Kumar Pandya. He was a professor at McGill University in Canada, and he had trained 6 Olympic boxers to win gold medal at Olympics.
Okay.
He released cassettes on relaxation, and he was a phenomenal trainer and a #1 consultant for people to do better in life.
Right.
He had married Ms. Annapurna Devi after he came back from
yes.
McGill, and he had told us enough and more about her ability to play sitar.
Sitar,
he said, yes, come again.
She played the Sur Bahar.
Sur Bahar, yes. And he said that it was a nightmare for him if he made a mistake.
Yes.
And the whole house could reverberate with her noise if at all he made a mistake in playing. And he trained at least 15 to 16 hours a day. That's what he said he trained. And he died about 8 years back, 2014 or 13 he died.
There is a new book that has come out on Annapurna Devi, which I brought to the table at Penguin. It is a collection of memories of all her students, Hariji and, a whole lot of them. Nityanand.
Okay, let me try for that book.
You should. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. And everything is in that, her temper, her the way she lived. I mean, the first time not Hariji met her, first time the writer of this book, the man who collated everything, met her, he thought she was the servant because she was doing jadu in the house while he was waiting for her in a very normal sari. And then she came with the bucket and she did pocha in the house after that. And then she went in and she said something. And when she went in and she asked him, will you have tea? And then he asked, my God, your servant has such a beautiful voice. Her voice is like Lata's when she speaks, because he knew Lata Mangeshkar personally. He said, same modulation as Lata's voice. So he said, what servant? Where's servant? Then she came in and said, okay, what do you want from me? So, it's a very whimsical person, very reclusive, very, very stubborn, and an amazing teacher to be able to teach.
And a stickler for discipline.
Yeah, and to teach the flute. But there are lovely stories about Hariji managed her. He taught her to drive. He managed to teach her to drive. I mean, that is in his own book, how he managed to teach her to drive. And what he did when she used to cough, he took homeopathy. She threw the whole thing out of the window saying, you're not my doctor. You're my student.
We knew this gentleman. He had been telling us all this from 1992, 93 till about 2012 since I last met him.
Yeah. No.
So we have such good memories of
him. Yes.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think each and every question has added so much more flavor.
Yes, very nice.
We've known each and every personality. We've known these personalities a little more better with these questions. I think with the last question, it's quite an interesting one, which Mr. DJ Kamath has. And we're going to close it with this question. So you could ask her the question.
This is my attempt, Satyaji, to appear in the acknowledgement section of one of your books. And that's a suggestion to you to write an autobiography.
Oh, nobody will read it. Nobody will read it.
It's not so much an autobiography as such, but at least a summary of all the people you met and
that way.
That's what I'm.
Okay, I will give it thought.
A buffet of sorts. A buffet.
Yeah. I wanted to say one thing which I didn't mention earlier, if I have 2 minutes time, is that we talk of RD and we talk of SD, but his wife Meera was an accomplished singer. She was a student, and I looked up old records of them, and she had such a beautiful voice. Very sweet, very nice. He never used her, and there is one chapter where I asked this question, that why did he not use the talent in his own home? But then when RD left, she took over his arranging. She used to handle the studio for him. So there is this unknown celebrity in his own house who did a lot, who contributed in many ways to his music. Just as Anuradha ji, between Hariprasad and Anuradha is trained in classical music all the way till a degree, while Hariji isn't, and she was the one who pushed him into classical music. So the wives, the contribution of the wives is usually overlooked, but it was huge in these cases.
May I ask one question, please? This is Shobha.
Yes.
Music to me seems to be occupying the highest rung in the ladder of creativity. I mean, they create thousands of songs, so many tunes, and it goes straight to the heart of the listener and stays on forever. Another observation I made, as you just now mentioned, is about SD Burman's wife. I heard her song immediately after reading your book, that how beautifully she sang, but she kept herself in the background till the end. And she sounded absolutely amazing. Till then, I used to think Lata Mangeshkar was the only one in this century. But then I thought what if she had also come up? And my third question is, which book did you enjoy writing the most so far?
That's like asking who's your favorite child. It's a difficult one. I think the one which gave me the most anxiety was SD Burman because of the format. And also the first one on Guru Dutt gave me a lot of trouble because it's based on what Abrar Alvi told me. Abrar Alvi was his writer, his very close friend, his assistant director. So there are lots of stories in that book about what happened behind every film that he made. But Abrar, when I met him, Abrar Sahab was already in his 80s, ailing, flirting with Alzheimer's or dementia, not Alzheimer's. So there were times when he would start talking on Meena Kumari and go to Madhubala. And I was writing my notes at top speed, because he would forget if I didn't write it down. So that gave me a lot of anxiety while I was writing it. It took a very long time to write. Otherwise, I have enjoyed writing my books.
Thank you. Thank you, Sathya. All the best.
Thank you. I think no session, a successful session is never over when we say last person and we at least have 2-3 more after that.
That's fine.
So Ramji has a question and he would like to ask you something. Ramji. Ramji, are you there?
Can I say something while we wait for Ramji?
Yes, we would love to listen. We would love to listen, yes.
Okay, no, it's not about the books. It's just that as a special offer, Penguin and HarperCollins both, because one is by Penguin and SD is by HarperCollins, have agreed to let me give these books on discount, 40% off. I will have the Hariji book signed by Hariji. He doesn't sign by hand because he's got Parkinson's. He has a rubber stamp which he puts. He will put that on each book and I will sign both books. And I'm coming to Chennai. I can bring the copy, so there is no courier charge as far as I know. So please, for the sake, it's not because I am going to gain anything by this. I get a royalty of 4%, which is nothing. And on 40%, I get 0. But the fact is that I want these people to remain immortal. And for that, I think it's a great idea if you order a copy and go through the stories and understand the genius of these people. This is my request.
Absolutely. I think it's a wonderful offer. We are all very excited. Again, I'm talking for everybody. Thank you so much for sharing this offer, and we are looking forward to having these books. Yes, Ramji, you're there. You can take over the question now.
Thank you, Sathya ji, for such a wonderful session.
Welcome.
Can you touch upon SD's singing career? Because till then, composers wouldn't sing. You have not heard of C. Ramchandra or Naushad.
No, C. Ramchandra sang. C. Ramchandra sang. He only called himself something else.
I see. But SD seems to have started this trend, which seems to still continue with composers. So what was this compulsion to actually sing, and what is it that has led to his becoming a prolific singer? Have you touched upon this?
He was a singer first.
I see. Okay.
He sang in Bengali films. He sang for Bengali events, Durga Puja and all. He was very popular. He and his wife were very, very popular. They won competitions as young people. So he was a singer first. His father was a Drupad singer who trained in the royal palace. All the children were made to sit every evening and they would sing. Every morning they would do riyaz. So he was a singer.
I see.
He learned from K.C. Day. He learned from another very, very important musician who was very strict and said you can't miss classes and you have to sing every day. So he learned everything. He learned as a singer. He realized in the world of films, his voice was not going to suit any. His way of singing, his accent is very thick Bengali accent.
Yes.
So he kept his songs for the kind of commentary whether it was Sun Mere Bandhu Re, which some boatman is singing, or whether it is Safal Hogi Teri Aradhana, or Meri Duniya Hai Maa, or Wo Wahan Kaun Hai Tera. So all these songs he kept as commentary or in the background or being sung by somebody else. But there is in the back of the book this wonderful thing by Amitabh, who says that when he was doing Abhiman, he used to sit and listen to the songs being composed by SD Burman, who would sing them out. And he says, not a single singer, not Rafi, not Lata, not anybody could ever reach exactly where he could go in the complexity of singing, in the melody, you know.
Amitabh Bachchan has said in his
back in the forward.
On his
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so last call for anybody who would like to ask a question. Else, Kamini, to you.
Okay. No. Well, I'd like to just end with the happy thought that, one of the listeners' suggestion, I really loved it, and Sathya should really think about it. And I, as a friend, know there is a lot, which will make the book very interesting. And like all books, there's a lot which people will really learn also. Yes, so that's one of the good things that's happened in this session. And thank you so much, Sathya. And I must tell all the listeners that the books are really wonderful. And once you start reading them, you will really not put them down. And there's lots to learn also from the lives of these two great men. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody at Alchemist. Thank you so much. It's been really, really a lovely, lovely evening. Thank you.
Sathya, thank you so much. Before we let you go, first and foremost, TG, thank you so much for having such an awesome club that does phenomenally well every time, upping the game, upping the bar by having authors, having amazing books that we go through. Kamini, thank you so much to you to bringing such an awesome personality who's shown us this complete different world where we've got to know two amazing, larger than life personalities, their story. And thank you, Sathya, for being here, sharing everything with us. We're really looking forward to the book. Thank you so much, all of you, for these awesome questions that you've asked, and you've been here through the sessions. So thank you, all of you. Till the next time. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you so much.
Ma'am, one last question. How do we get the book in Mumbai?
I can send it to you here.
Okay, I will connect with the Alchemist Book Club and
if you can send your address, I'll have it couriered to you.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Where do you stay?
We're in Dadar.
Oh, that's fine. I go through past Dadar a million. I'll drop it off.
I can have it collected. That's not a challenge.
Fine. I'm in Banduk, so I'm not very far.
Okay, no problem. I can have it collected. I'm interested in the SD Burman book.
All right.
Thank you very much.
If you will tell somebody Kamini is making a list, I'll have to send it to HarperCollins. They will send me the books.
Sure, I'll do that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, TG. Thank you for playing all those songs so well. Usually without a hitch.
Playing was simple, man. To create them.
Yes.
The heart and soul of ABC.
I know.
Thank
because
you so
I
much.
do shows with songs on stage, and it's a nuisance. Yes.
Thank you so much for coming, man. It's really a pleasure. And this video will be on the YouTube with a link for buying the books with discount. And let's, like what shared, let's buy these books and read them and get inspired. So many lives what we talked about today. So inspiring.
Right. Send me the link also, somebody.
Yeah, I will be sending.
Thank you. Right. I'm logging off. Thank you.
Thank you.